From Chicago, where being windy is nothing new, it's the Medicare for the Lazy Man podcast. A Medicare podcast that barks up the right tree every time. And now, wondering when his hover car will be ready to buy, it's Medicare expert Doug Jones.
Well, hello, everybody. I am so glad to see that you're joining us again for another episode of the Medicare for the Lazy Man podcast. This is Doug Jones, as you may have heard. I'm your Medicare expert for today, and I am here to help you feel really, really confident about your impending encounter with Medicare, if in fact you have one coming up. Most of us do, because most of us actually live to the ripe old age of 65, and Medicare becomes our primary source of health insurance. But it confuses a lot of people, and I don't want you to be confused, so I have written a book. It's called Medicare for the Lazy Man. The current edition is 2025. It's on sale now at Amazon.com and BarnesandNoble.com for your reading pleasure. So all you have to do is go to one of those two websites, pick out the edition of the book that you want. Maybe you'd like to read the paperback book, and they'll send that to you in very short order. Maybe you'd like to read the ebook. The Kindle version is at Amazon, and that's a $4.50 item that they will instantly load into your reading device. You can also hear someone with dulcet tones read the book to you so that you don't have to do anything but lay back and let that Medicare knowledge just wash over your brain. And then, of course, if you have a holiday or a loved one's birthday coming up and you need a gift that's going to be perfectly appropriate, you might consider springing $25 for the hardcover version. That's going to be a keepsake that will keep on giving far into the future. So in any of those tomes, you're going to find all the Medicare knowledge you need to understand the strengths and the weaknesses in the Medicare program. You'll understand the additional insurance that is wise to have. You'll understand, most importantly, the best insurance coverage for you to have along with Medicare. And that would give you the most freedom of choice, the most flexibility, and the most opportunity to keep excellent coverage for the rest of your life for a very reasonable cost. And that's where I come in as a licensed agent. I can help you accomplish those goals. And speaking of accomplishments, we have an accomplished individual sitting right across the stream from me. His name is Randy Carson, and I want to know what he's accomplished lately. What have you done for me lately, Randy? Oh, not for me. What have you accomplished?
Gosh. You sound very far away, Doug. I don't know. You're a lot further away today than you normally are. What has happened?
Well, I think you know more about it than you're letting on, but basically I relocated from our beloved Arizona up to Wayne, Illinois, mostly just for the summer. I hope to be back ASAP, but we have a house that's been worked on. I found some papers from the acquisition of the house. February of 2021 is when we got this place. I remember it when I was a little kid because I grew up here in Wayne. My parents dragged me up north from Oklahoma. I found myself as a 4-year-old in Wayne, Illinois. It's quite a little place. It's unusual in many respects, including its history and the way it's laid out. Everybody's got 4 acres for the most part. And when we rode places or when we got together with our friends, it was a trek. Even my next door neighbor friend was a good 0.3 of a mile away. And so it was helpful to learn how to ride a bicycle at the earliest possible time. But this is a wonderful little place. And so we've had this house and we've had a builder reconstructing it. It was built in 1950 and it was added on to, and we have had it gutted and rebuilt to modern specifications. And so we're camping out here because somebody took all of our stuff and made one big giant pile of it and covered it with plastic. And now we're looking for things that we need to get by every day.
Don't you hate when that happens?
But
Oh,
that's the short story.
you know where everything's at, and then when you get back, you know where nothing is at.
And we know where nothing is, and it's incredible the small, insignificant things that I've been searching for. Mary walks one way through the room, I walk the other way. Have you seen so and so? Nope. Have you seen so and so? Nope. So, but driving up here was a 4-day trek because of huge rains in Missouri, and it was just a god awful nightmare. I'm glad to be in one place for a while, and we'll be here for a few months before we can head back to Arizona.
Yes, well, I'll be looking for your, I will be looking forward to your return just any day now. I know it's going to be a while, but the thing is that I don't know if you know this, but you are down way down below the oxygen content that you're normally used to. You
Yes.
are so full of oxygen that you may over oxygenate yourself. I'm
What
not just so stop breathing as much.
I anticipated that it would give me a burst of energy and I would be digging into Medicare content for this program. And what have I done? I actually slept in this morning. So I think maybe it was
Oh,
just the rigors of being on the road is what caused me to, need a little R&R. And so I was staring at the inside of my eyelids until like 10 o'clock this morning. It was very,
Well,
very,
did you know? Here's your fun fact for the day, and then I'll go ahead and mute myself out, and you can kick it in. Uh, Bottom line is, did you know that too much oxygen is actually toxic?
well, I knew that our normal mixture is 20% oxygen, 18 to 20%, and the rest of it is mostly nitrogen. And anything that deviates too far from that is likely to be deleterious.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what I didn't know was that that it could be fatal. Too much
Oh,
oxygen, too
yeah.
much.
Too much oxygen can kill you.
Oh boy. Yeah. Do you want to elaborate on that? What is it like to die from too much oxygen?
I don't know yet.
Well, we did watch a special on that submersible that went down to see the
Yeah.
Titanic. Didn't make it all the way down. It
Yeah.
imploded,
Yeah. Yeah.
most of the way. But it was interesting that they have very, in the design of that submersible, they had very rigorous uh, oxygen and nitrogen mixture recommend or requirements so that people would not suffer the bends when they came back up
Yeah.
again, even though they
Yeah.
weren't under a ton of pressure. Turns out the submersible should have been better designed to stand the pressure down there.
Yeah, well, the carbon fiber didn't really stand the test of time because, as you know, their their monitoring device to see if the
Yes.
carbon fiber hull was holding up
Uh-huh.
was a microphone to see if they could hear any cracking. Okay,
And
so
and as I
I'm not thinking that was working too well for them.
no, I think the design and the testing could have been improved considerably. The result was that they heard cracking every trip, but decided that if it cracks once or twice, that's fine. They did not think about it as a cumulative effect.
Yes, yes. Well, obviously that was a cumulative effect, but they didn't know that. So, oh well.
Yeah,
It
well,
only the whole thing only lasted just a portion of a nanosecond. So,
if you're gonna die,
nobody suffered. Nobody
yeah,
suffered.
if you're gonna die, that's one way to go. It would have been
Well, the other
nice.
way is to fall off a stool in Dublin with a Guinness in your hand.
Well, that's the way but you want your heart to stop right before you take the tumble, though. That was your plan,
Yes,
as I
yes,
recall.
absolutely.
What
I
you're
want to
gonna
tumble off my last stool with my last Guinness right as I go and hit the floor.
well, you're gonna have that opportunity
I
coming up
am.
later this month. As I understand it, though, you're gonna spend more time in England than in Ireland this trip, or
No, actually, no. It's going to be we're landing in London, but we're going to hop on a ship and go cruise around Ireland. So we're only going to England to get to the ship to go to Dublin.
oh, okay. I feel as though I've been there because last night we watched rewatch because it was rerun again the special on the History Channel that was kind of a hokey. They played recordings, tape recordings of D-Day participants, and then they had actors dressed up like they would have been when they were actually participating in D-Day
Ah,
or when they were
okay.
dictating the recordings and they were questioned by an interviewer. And
Yeah.
every one of these guys was talking about their own personal experiences during D-Day. My father, who was in the third wave on Omaha Beach, came ashore. He had a Jeep and a trailer, and he had a driver for his Jeep. He told me a lot of things when I was a little kid, and it was, fresh in his mind. As an adult, when I tried to get him to talk about it, clammed up, wouldn't talk about it at all.
Hmm.
The day he died, he dropped dead raking leaves in the yard, as you may have heard. I was
Yep.
I was in downtown Chicago, so I got on the commuter train, came home to the house, and by the time I got back to St. Charles, Illinois, the place was full of his friends, and they were telling all of his war stories that I had never heard when I was growing up.
So
So
did you grab a recorder?
I didn't think it was the appropriate time. My mother
Well,
was
yes.
freshly widowed, and
Yeah, you're right. You walking up to somebody here, speak into the microphone here. No, no.
yep, yep. But
That
it
that
was
you're right. That would have been terribly, terribly a troublesome thing for your mom.
it made me wish that I had been more insistent earlier that my father share some of his historical
Yeah,
things. Because
yeah,
he was one of the first guys into Buchenwald, and he had he was in the Battle of the Bulge, and he was in the Signal Corps. So
yeah,
he went a lot of different places in order to string wire and to make sure our communications were working properly.
yeah.
So that's but enough of that. We pretty much burned up the whole episode just getting reacquainted because I've been
Yes.
gone for quite some time.
Well, plus your face is a lot more ruddy because you have more oxygen. Normally, your face is a little more pale because you have less oxygen content.
Well, the other problem too is that this is the land of perpetual winter, and there's a short period in the middle of the summer that is actually warm and comfy, but it's not as long as I would like. That's
Have I
why I
told
like.
you my joke about Michigan?
Please do tell me again.
There's 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 absolutely only two seasons in Michigan. Do you know
Uh-huh.
what they are?
Road construction, and I give up. Go ahead.
Winter and 4th of July.
Oh, okay. Well, I have a client in Illinois who said, well, I'm going up to Door County for the weekend with my girlfriends. And it's a girls' weekend in Door County. She told me this a couple of weeks ago in late May. And I said, are you sure you want to do that? Have you looked at the, have you looked at the calendar? Have you looked at the weather? When she got back, I said, how are things in Door County? And she said, cold and miserable.
Yes, well, I could have told you that.
Yeah, I tried to. I tried to. Well, we should get to work here. This
All
is
right, I'm going to go ahead and mute myself out and I'll look for you to make some money now.
okay. We'll see if that works. We'll see if people are ready to fork over some dough at the end of this episode. I don't have the typical stack of stuff that I used to ask Randy to select articles from. The first segment we always did was the Medicare Advantage Minute, where we'd warn you that Medicare Advantage was likely to be a bad idea if you wanted to enroll in a Medicare health insurance plan. Medicare Advantage has several very serious pitfalls. But what I ran across today, an article in that same general vein of trouble in Medicare Advantage land, is an article that lists 18 health insurance companies that are laying off employees big time because of trouble in their business operations. And I'm just going to go through a few of these. Elevance Health, which is better known as Anthem, and it's had its roots. It started as Blue Cross of California. They had an Irish subsidiary called Carillon, and I had never heard about this before, but they're laying off 300 employees in Limerick, Ireland. What that has to do with anything, I don't know. Why it's on this list, I don't know. There's an outfit called UCare laying off 80 employees, 5% of its workforce, as the company faces steep losses amid rising costs in the Medicare Advantage and the managed Medicaid business. Cable Health laying off 612 employees with its insurance division. This is an Urbana, Illinois uh, company, and its subsidiaries are stopping all health insurance plans after 2025. So that means that a lot of people out there that were insured by these plans are going to have the opportunity to be given guaranteed issue to get a Medicare supplement plan. Providence Health laying off 4% of its employees, citing strong financial headwinds. I love that business school jargon. Blue Shield of California laying off 113 employees. That's not going to make any dent in their personnel files. Cigna, 62 employees in one location in New Jersey. And it goes on and on and on. Harvard Pilgrim Health is, and Tufts health plan. Tufts University has its own health plan, apparently. They're reducing administrative costs as medical and pharmaceutical trends continue to climb. United Healthcare, offered employees buyouts if they left their job in March. The company did not confirm how many employees have received an offer, but across all social media, the employees said at least 30,000 people were offered a buyout earlier this year. And then I think their subsidiary, Optum, laid off 71 people in New Jersey. Company laid off another 160 employees in New Jersey earlier this year. So it goes on and on and on. This list continues on, and it appears to be the result of financial headwinds. I love that terminology, but they are having difficulty with their Medicare Advantage products. Here's one. Aetna laying off 600 employees at their headquarters. Aetna's a big Medicare Advantage company, and I think this is indicative of turmoil that I've been talking about in the Medicare Advantage arena. And it bodes well for those of us who encourage our clients to purchase Medicare supplement plans. They can enjoy the freedom of choice and the smaller financial turmoil that is occurring in other places in the Medicare market. So moving on to the next segment that we do on a regular basis is your Medicare benefits, and we're into the 2025 book. It's wonderful to be up to date with that. And everything is alphabetical. This is a government publication that lists all the stuff that Medicare can possibly bill you for, and it tells how these things are covered. Today, it's kidney disease education. So kidney disease education teaches you how to take the best possible care of your kidneys, and it gives you information that you need to make informed decisions about your care. Medicare covers up to 6 sessions of kidney disease education services if you have stage 4 chronic kidney disease, and that usually requires dialysis or a kidney transplant. I've got a close friend who had a kidney transplant, and I learned, and I shared this with Randy in one of our previous episodes, that when you get a transplanted kidney, you've got to wait some period of time before you know whether that thing's going to work or not. It takes a while. I think it goes to sleep and it stays asleep, and then eventually it begins to start working, and that's when you can heave a sigh of relief. Otherwise, you might not have a useful kidney transplanted into your kidney area, I guess. So to go on with this particular category, Medicare covers all of this stuff if your doctor or other healthcare provider refers you for the service and you get the service from a doctor or qualified non-doctor provider or a certain rural provider. Would that be like a witch doctor? The costs after you meet the Part B, as in Bravo deductible, which is $257 this year, you will pay 20% of the Medicare approved amount per session if you get the service from a healthcare provider. But you won't have to pay that 20% outright if you've come to me for your Medicare supplement plan. It will either be covered for you by the Medicare supplement, or it will be part of your coinsurance that you will have that will allow you to have the very, very reasonably priced Plan G high deductible, which is what I recommend for all of my clients. So that's kidney disease education. In future episodes, we're going to have 2 other similar articles. We're going to talk about kidney transplants And that's for most people. And then we're going to have another episode on kidney transplants for children. I don't know if there's any difference between those two, but it's going to be interesting to find out. Maybe I'll be the only one interested. I don't know. All righty. I have unpacked my material that I had to talk about for today. And what have I discovered? Well, we mentioned United Healthcare or United Health Group, which is the parent company earlier. And it was in regard to them laying off 30,000 employees. So I wanted to, oh no, I'm going to leave this for our next Medicare Advantage Minute because United Health Group is in some trouble. They're having some turmoil. Drug plans. Drug plans are an interesting and confusing part of the Medicare program. They didn't even exist until the early part of this century in the aughts. And what happened was that all the Medicare supplement plans typically covered drugs, and they covered them in a fairly generous way for most people. But somebody decided that there was trouble in River City and that we needed to have federally overseen drug plans. And so during the George W. Bush administration, that was created, and Congress apparently allowed the institution of this drug plan program. And it was less confusing then than it is now. They basically told a bunch of insurance companies, hey, go have a ball, create drug plan coverage, and you can sell it to your clients. And that sounded like a wonderful idea while the economy was strong. But it turns out that it was less wonderful because the drug companies, first of all, like to make a profit. And there's a segment of the American society that doesn't want to see them or maybe anybody else in the medical field make a profit. And the other interesting thing is that new drugs are being developed all the time, and the drug companies would like to recoup their investment. When they bring out a new drug, there's an extensive testing period, and there's also a lot of legal liability that they undergo. And if you want to know why that might be, look up thalidomide, spelled just like it sounds, and the history of the biggest black eye the pharmaceutical industry ever had in the early 1960s. So what we have here is a series of drug plans that will cover people's prescription drug needs, but they're all different. And then, of course, there's been a lot of turmoil in this area, too. So the prescription drug plans have been actually reduced in number as a lot of companies say, hey, we're not going to take losses. The government is forcing us to pay for things that we never expected to have to pay for. So we're just going to fold our tent and go home. So instead of about 30 or so plans in each location in the United States, there are now closer to 15 plans in each location in the United States. And I still perform the service for my clients of finding the plan out of those 15 that most closely meets their drug needs, their shopping patterns in their location for the least cost. And that becomes a daunting task. So I use the federal government website. And one of the things that came up recently was a client of mine said, okay, thank you for telling me which drug plan. I enrolled her in a drug plan that I first did the research. I showed her the results of the research. I said, does this look reasonable to you? Should I go ahead with this particular recommendation? She said, yes, please do. And then I sent her a confirmation that the website generated. Now, it wasn't the drug company's website. It's a U.S. government website. That's what I use for the research and for the enrollment of all these people in drug plans. And I have to tell you, there is no more commission paid to insurance agents when they use that site to enroll their clients. Most of these plans have stopped paying commissions a long time ago because they're in fiscal straits. So this is all kind of like free of charge. And this woman asked me if she could have her premium for the drug plan withheld from her Social Security payments. And I said, sorry, no. When I'm enrolling a client on the government website, the only two options I'm offered are do you want to, well, actually, I should back up. She wasn't taking Social Security. She wanted to change the Social Security. And I said, since you weren't taking it, I could not set it up that way. When you start taking Social Security, you can call the plan and change your payment method. But the only option I had for this lady was her to have her bill sent to her house. And that's what's going to happen until she calls to make a change. That's the only other option on this enrollment process. So whenever I enroll somebody, I'm going to choose send a bill for this drug plan to the residents in the mail. And then if the person decides they want to have it withdrawn from their checking account or they want to use some other payment option, all these plans have different payment options, and I don't know what they are. And the website doesn't offer me the opportunity to pick out one that the patient prefers. So I always select bill the patient directly. And then when they get their ID card, it's going to have a customer service telephone number on it. And it's going to be very simple for them to call the plan and say, I am customer so-and-so. Here's my member number, and I want you to start sending me or deducting from my checking account or whatever. You can change the method to something that is more amenable to your method of doing business. I also have an unfortunate situation with a client of mine that I've had for, I think, 3 years. This woman lives in a southern state, and I didn't know because the Medicare supplement plans are generally not very good about telling me who is paying their premium, who might be late in paying their premium, and who has stopped paying their premium. I wasn't aware that this woman stopped paying her Medicare supplement premium and her Part B of Medicare premium. She was having difficulty affording those two things. And so she said, well, I'll just drop these two insurance coverages. Now, remember, Part B of Medicare this year costs $185 a month. The Medicare supplement she was on probably cost $30, maybe $35 a month because it was the one I always recommend, the high deductible plan G. Well, a bad thing happened. She had some physical problems and had them diagnosed by her doctor, and she now has atrial fibrillation. Now that she has that diagnosis, she has a very limited opportunity to get her health insurance coverage back. And she was telling me that she did all this because she didn't think she could afford her insurance premiums. And now all of a sudden, it looks as though that would have been the best money she could have spent, because it's pretty tough to get treatment for anything but an emergency if you don't have any health insurance. So here's what her options are at this point in the year, which is in early summer. It is unfortunately going to be required that she wait until what is known as the general enrollment period, which occurs in January, February, and March of each year. That's when she can enroll again in Medicare Part B. Since she stopped paying the premiums, let it go. She let it lapse. Now, when she enrolls in Part B, she still won't have a Medicare supplement, which is an essential part of her health insurance protection. And the original time that you enroll in Part B of Medicare, you will have a 6-month period where you can get any Medicare supplement that's sold in your area, not free of charge, but without having to prove good health. Well, now she is going to have serious difficulty proving good health because, frankly, she's not in good health anymore. And the insurance companies that offer Medicare supplements all want people who are healthy when they have the option. When they're able to do physical or medical underwriting, they're going to turn down anybody who doesn't fit their parameters of healthy clientele. So my client now is faced with the prospect of getting Medicare in 6 months or 7 months. She's going to have to wait that long until the beginning of next year to get Part B of Medicare back. And then she will be faced with the prospect of not being able to get a Medicare supplement. So it's going to be touch and go. The final resolution appeared to be, and I wasn't aware, that her husband was still working and that he has what she described as a crappy health insurance plan available through his employer. And so I said, if his employer has more than 20 employees, then you should jump on that big time. Otherwise, you're going to have trouble. But if they have 20 or more employees, that becomes primary health insurance, and it will return you to the land of insured people. And so I don't think she'd ever thought of that. And she said, okay, that's what I'll do. She said, I don't know how many employees they have. And I said, well, it's essential that they have 20 or more, because the law then says that's going to take the place of any need for Medicare that you would have, and it will be full coverage, even if it's crappy insurance with a huge deductible and the employer makes you pay a lot of money every month for it. It's still going to be better than what you have now, and it's going to ease your transition back to Medicare at some point in the future. So with that, I think I have probably run out of time. I've shared my travel experiences to some extent, and I've shared a little bit of Medicare stuff. So that's about the best I'm going to be able to do for my first episode, Back in the Saddle.
Does it feel good getting back in the saddle, Doug? Or, how does it feel?
I missed being here, and I'm happy to be back. I just need to get
Good.
better organized for future episodes.
Yeah, well, I totally can understand that. But anyway, as you might imagine, we were out of time. We're still facing the quarter shortage.
Oh boy, well, that's never going to go away until something happens with our revenue stream.
But anyway, we're going to land the plane, even though we're landing it at a different airport today, as normal. So anyway, long story short is we are out of time and we're going to bring the plane in on 36 left. But before I do, you need to write down this email address because it could be very important to you to share some information, ask some questions, or anything else you might imagine with Doug. His email address is dbj@mlmmailbag.com. He is licensed nationwide to help you with your Medicare supplement planning. Check us out at the website, medicareforthelazyman.com. We would appreciate it in your wanderings through the wilds of the internet. Drop a review for us. It's always appreciated because here we are in June and we're still trying to stay ahead of the travel logs as we normally do. However, one thing I want to share with you. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. You could have been anywhere else doing anything else and you weren't. You were with us, spending time with Doug Jones, the anti-insurance guy, originally from Oklahoma, normally living up in the high ground behind Cave Creek, Arizona, but now he's in the low ground out in the land of Lincoln. I don't know just exactly what the altitude is, but I know it's a lot lower than Cave Creek.
Yes, it is, and there's a lot more oxygen here. It's somewhere between 600 and 700-ish feet above sea level.
Good. Well, so I'm glad you're going to get some oxygen, but he's living in the land of Lincoln now, right next to Pugsleyville, I think.
Oh, God. Please don't remind me. I'd completely forgotten about Pugsley.
So anyway, I'm going to turn it over to you and you can sign out.
Well, Randy, I always appreciate your help. Thank you so much for joining me again. And ladies and gentlemen, I've missed you while I've been traveling. I'm back, and I'm hoping that we will have several very, very instructive sessions coming up in the very near future with the Medicare for the Lazy Man podcast. Thank you for joining us. I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Bye-bye.